Okay, well, I guess we'll get started by introducing ourselves. So we're Agent Keys. My name is Dana. I'm an intuitive medium and psychopomp. And together I work with Jacqueline.
Hi everyone. Yeah, my name is Jacqueline. I'm a psychic healer and energy worker, and I have an online course where I guide women through or to trust their intuition and connect themselves with spirit, and also work as Ancient Keys with Dana to guide women on journeys of healing and transformation.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey, really thinking about like how we got started and really looking at we were talking a little before we started and we were realizing like we've been working together for like 6 years, that's really
Uh-huh.
cool. Um,
Yeah, I know. It's really wild. Time flies.
it does fly. Like we had to do math. We were like when we met in 2018. Um, so yeah, it was really cool. We met in a
Hmm.
psychic circle in New York
Yeah.
City. I remember the first time Jacqueline came to Circle. I think I'd been in a circle about a year at that point, and I remember you coming in, and I was like, "Oh, she looks
Mhm.
really cool." I remember thinking,
Aw.
"Finally, someone is cool looking coming in," you know.
There were some interesting people in that class for sure.
Yeah, so interesting is the word, totally.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we
So uh, go ahead. I was just gonna say, like, I personally, like, yeah, in 2018. So I joined the circle because, and it was so random for me. Like, I maybe you can tell like how you got to the circle also.
Mhm.
But I remember, like, I was going through this spiritual awakening and really starting to kind of crack open the healing of my trauma. And I started having this crazy spiritual awakening. And I had always like felt spirits and I could connect a little bit, but I never, you know, explored it. And but during this time it got so crazy for me that I said to my roommate at the time, I was like, I need to figure out what's going on because I have no idea. And so I just started like researching things online to do, in New York, and I went on to Meetup, and I found our mentor circle, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go and see who these people are. And yeah, like even just from the first time I showed up, I was like, oh, these are my people. Like they understand what's going on because I don't. So it was really amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it was super amazing. I also felt a similar sort of homecoming from the first one I went to. I was like, oh, these are people that speak my language. I didn't feel weird anymore. I felt like I could
Hmm.
speak my deep, true truth, and there wasn't people that could get it. I came from Circle. I had the woman who ran the Circle was also doing an intuitive development class at the time. And I, took her class and she's like, oh, I have a weekly circle. You have to come. And I started going and I went every week for a year. I didn't say much in the beginning. I just listened and yeah, it was such an interesting time because for me, I had just had my daughter. Um, and I was always intuitive my whole life. I'd always had experiences seeing things, hearing things, having just knowing things. But it wasn't until I had my daughter that was just a band-aid got ripped off. I could just, everything came super, super strong. And I had no choice but to go back and to really look into it. And, in doing that, I was able to make a lot of really lovely friends out of that circle and a lot of really, um, you know, um, just really connected with people in a really deep way. I know you cut out for a moment, so you
Hmm.
probably didn't hear a lot of what my story was, but I know you
No,
know it, so
it's okay. It's okay.
yeah.
No, I heard it. I heard it. It's just,
Okay.
yeah, Instagram
Okay.
is being very strange tonight.
It is.
No. I don't know,
Um,
Saturn went to retrograde, but I don't know what else is happening up
Usually
there.
that improves things, but
I
who
know,
knows?
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
anyway,
yeah, and I mean,
yeah.
we both just worked that circle. We showed up every week. We learned how to sit
Hmm.
one on one and read someone. We learned how to do different techniques to read someone. We learned
Hmm.
how to gaze into candles, how to sit in red light, how to do hands-on
Hmm.
healing with people. We just learned so much, and we experimented and really got
Hmm.
comfortable. Um, understanding what our voices were as mediums. We understood
Hmm.
how to deliver a message. We understood started to learn how to trust ourselves
Hmm.
intuitively, and
Hmm.
we started to learn how to surrender. Um, and really looking back, we only had one toe in at that time. Now we have
Very true.
both feet
No,
in. We're in the pool now, but
for, for
um,
sure.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then
Wow.
I guess things really started to shift when the pandemic hit. The circle
Hmm.
went online, but then we continued to work together kind of one on one outside of the circle.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was really interesting. Like I remember when we were in New York, and like you said, we were going to class like every week, and it was amazing. And then I remember when we got quarantined, I was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? With Circle. And then our mentor was like, well, we can do it on the phone. And we were all just like, okay, you know. And I actually, it was something I do specifically remember is like some people in the group just like stopped coming, which fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But those who stayed, like, I don't know how you feel, but I really felt this way. And like, I know we spoke about it at the time, is like, I actually felt like it was somehow we got deeper, or
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to say better, but like somehow like just being at home in our own safe space,
Yeah.
like for me, I was able to go deeper into the meditations. Like I wasn't so concerned about like the other people around me, and
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
that was really interesting. But yeah, and it was also a curious concept for me because I was kind of new at the time. Like when our mentor said, "Oh, let's just do it on the phone," and I was like, "What? Okay." But it ended up being
Well,
amazing, and yeah,
what
go
that
ahead.
taught us is that time and space don't exist in the way we think it is. Like we don't have to be sitting next
Mm-hmm.
to someone to have that powerful experience. In some ways, it's
Mm-hmm.
almost better maybe if you don't, because you don't get distracted by the real world stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, yeah, and something I liked, that you kind of touched on too was with our mentor. I mean, it was really interesting how she taught us, because like me coming into her class and being like completely new, and you having like 1 year experience before I came, like when I first got into the class, I remember thinking like the very first class, I she had us do this exercise like with two people, with me and someone else, and she was just like guiding us to see like the other person's spirit guide, and I wasn't getting it. And then she came over and she just started saying like, who do you see? Do you see a man? Do you see a woman? Do you see a child? And I was like, man. And she's like, does he have jewelry? I was like, yes, he does. And like it flowed.
Mhm.
But then after that class, I got really frustrated because people were doing what we do now, and I think even you were at the time, and I didn't understand how it worked. And then during that class, like I just kept going because I was like, well, these people, even though they're more advanced than me, maybe I can still learn from them. And yeah, and just like one day, like it just actually, okay, I need to tell this story because it's pretty perfect, I think. And I know I've told you before,
Yeah.
but
I know what you're
this
gonna
is when
say,
it
but yeah.
yes, this is when it really hit me. So before COVID, in one of the classes in Circle, it was like a big class too. I think there was maybe 15, 20 people. And she had us at the very end of class, she had us um, go into trance, go into the meditation, and pick someone. No, I don't think we picked. I think we let spirit show us something, and we asked them for it to be connected to a person in the room. But we didn't say who. We didn't choose the person, and spirit didn't tell us exactly who it was for.
Mm-hmm.
They just shared information, and then afterwards we all shared, and then whoever in the room it was related to would say, oh, that was for me, or
Mm-hmm.
that was something. And I don't remember if it was like she gave us a specific thing, but but I remember um getting into trance, doing the meditation, and everybody in the room, and again there was like 20 people, everybody shared, and I was the last person, and she's like, does anybody else have anything to share? And I was so nervous because like a few minutes before that I was getting nothing, zero. And I just sat there and I just took a deep breath and I said, okay, spirit, I don't know how this works, I don't understand it, but I'm just going to sit here and let whatever come. And I did, and I just trusted, I just blindly trusted what they were showing me. And I remember I was seeing this house, and there was like, I was sensing water underground, but I didn't see water. And I was seeing these two little kids, and I like did. So finally, at the very end of class, I was like, even though I was nervous AF, I said, okay, I'm going to share. I don't know what I'm getting. And so I shared. And then I remember you saying, you were seeing me and my brother in my childhood home. And
Yeah.
I just like, I wanted to fall off the chair because I was like, okay, that's how we do
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
it just,
Yeah.
something in that
Yeah.
moment, like it just clicked for me. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I get it now. I just have to
Yeah.
surrender and
Yeah.
I have to trust what I'm getting without putting my own thought into it. And it was really, yeah, it was a wild experience. So,
It, it is such a wild experience, and I love
mm-hmm.
how that moment, like you would have no idea, you trusted and you delivered this message, right? The trust and the surrender, which is at the core of any intuitive growth or journey. But I love how you gave me this message, and then we started working together. We went on this incredible journey of like,
Mm-hmm.
like really doing everything that we've done, and now we're working together, and it's just really wild,
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Yeah.
Like you have no
Yeah.
idea. You just randomly walk in somewhere, and
Yeah.
you just never know,
Never know.
But I
Mm-hmm.
do think that like
Yeah.
that's one of those experiences where like, oh, you meet this person you're supposed to meet, like you're just like supposed to be on
Mm-hmm.
this journey with this person.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I do remember sitting in class, though, the one, and I don't know if it was maybe that day, but I remember thinking, her and I are going to be friends. I know I
yeah,
barely even talked to you in class at that time. So I
yeah,
was just like, I don't know, I
yeah.
just have a feeling about this.
Well, I thought you were cool when I first met you, but then we
Mm.
had to do one-on-one readings at one point, and I remember reading into a life of yours in London, which we've come back to over the
Mm.
years later. And I that's
Many
at that
times.
point I knew I just felt like I was gonna know you in a
Mm-hmm.
deeper way than I did now, and I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
articulate it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just funny how sometimes you just know those things, and it's just
Right.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our
yeah.
intuition, trusting that. Yeah.
Absolutely. But and I think it was really once everything went online, then we really started talking and journeying on the phone a lot, and really
Mm-hmm.
just started doing it where we would do sometimes in small groups with other people, and then sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it was one-on-one. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
I think we were laughing earlier before we started how we like bonded over trauma. We learned,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, really learning that we had went through a lot of the same experiences in our life as
Mm-hmm.
as younger, as children, really, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's what kicked everything off.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like at that point I had left and I had moved to Mexico, and we were doing like these little journeys,
Mhm.
or journeys with small groups, of people. And yeah, and then we kind of both shared, you know, a little bit of our story between the two of us. And for me, like how really it started for me as like while like so in 2018 I started really healing on my own from my own trauma, like talking to my family, talking to my friends, talking to myself, and really like going deep. And then so at the same time all of this spiritual awakening started happening and like overlapping. But I remember like when I first started like the very first friend I talked to, she was like, you should get a therapist. And I was like, yes. But at the time I didn't, like I had a good job, but um like I tried, like I went to like a therapy group and I didn't, it wasn't like my vibe. And then I was looking for therapists, but even though, I mean, New York City is crazy, even though I had insurance, had a decent job, it was still fucking expensive to go. And so I kind of like pushed it off and pushed it
Mm-hmm.
off. And then, you know, as I was going through this awakening too, I was like, I don't think anybody is going to understand what I'm going through because I don't understand it at that point. I didn't understand. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah. And so for me, like when we started talking about like our experiences, you know, like we both just kind of said, well, you know, let's just ask spirit. I mean, we
Yeah.
asked them for all these other things,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and and we had been working like for a while. We were doing work with the police and like other people to like help. We were trying to work on
Mm-hmm.
missing persons cases, and so
Yeah.
spirit was like dropping in like with a lot of like healing energy.
Yeah.
And yeah,
We
and then
were
we
crossing a
decided.
lot of spirits at that time too, doing a lot of psychopomp work.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
yeah. Before we continue with the journey, I just want to say I tried traditional therapy too. I tried it 2 times. Well, 2 times as an adult ready to do the healing. And
mm-hmm,
the first was before I opened up again and had my daughter. And nope, it didn't gel. It just wasn't, it didn't go deep enough for me. It was too, it just wasn't clicking. And then I tried it again after she opened up. And even though my therapist was accepting of me being an intuitive, she didn't know what to do with it. She just, it was like something that was there but was never talked about. It's just like,
mm-hmm,
oh, okay, that's that part of you, and this is this part of you. And there was still that sort of separation where you weren't this full embodied person. Um, yeah.
mm-hmm.
So I do
Yeah.
think the future of therapy is going to be intuitive counseling. People who are trained to deal with
Mm-hmm,
things that the umbrella of working with people with spirit don't quite cover. Because there's some people that they
mm-hmm.
do need something other than this.
Right.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and they do like, I mean, I want to say also, and I think we both um, probably agree on this. Like, I do think there is 100% a time and place for traditional therapy, but like you said, like it just like even I actually remember at some point in the circle there was this woman, um, like kind of around the COVID time. There was this woman, and I don't remember what happened in the circle, like what we were talking about, but basically she started talking and she was like, oh, this was what it was. She was a therapist, a regular licensed therapist in New York. And she was a psychic and she was coming to our class because she didn't know what to do because she was actually on the opposite side. Like she was intuitive and she was psychic and she was
Mm-hmm.
getting messages as her clients were sharing. And she's like, I don't understand. I don't know what to do because some of these people, maybe they're not spiritual or maybe they're not open to this.
Mm-hmm.
And what, so whatever it was, I like broke down and I said to her, I was like literally in that class, I was like, I just want you to know that I am going through this and I would love to have a therapist like you. And we
Yeah.
didn't end up working together because it was a conflict of interest.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it was interesting to see that she was someone who was open. But I said to her, I was like, if you're interested, like you should really follow that path because there are not many people like you out there. And she was like, yes, I know. She's like, I'm the only one in my office. And like, so I do think, yeah, it's there needs to be
I,
a
I
bridge,
I
you
remember
know?
her. I remember her. I also remember another woman, and she was very much on the hesitant on the ethical and legal implication side of it. So that was what was making her
Mm-hmm.
nervous, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
I do think we'll get there. We're not there yet, you know. I think, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
coming. It's coming more and
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean we can talk, later in the live about it, but I think, so basically you and I came to this conclusion that the traditional therapy is not working for us. We have a lot of trauma to heal. And so we just decided, we're like, and we had no idea, like, by the way, guys, like at the time, like Dana and I had no idea what it would evolve into. We just said, fuck it, let's start.
Yeah.
And
I think
so
we
we
just knew we
decided,
needed
like,
to do something. Yeah,
right, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we were both kind of, I was desperate. I'm like, I need to heal and I don't have
yeah,
anybody, I don't have the money and I don't know what to do. And then yeah, we just came together and we're like, you know what? Let's just like next week do a journey with spirit and ask them what to heal. And
yeah,
then 4 years later, we're still doing the same thing.
yeah. I
And
mean,
it,
yeah,
yeah.
it's wild where we started and where we are now is very different. I mean, we went in with intent, but then it really grew into something way different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, wow, where do we even start about that? I mean,
Well,
um,
I think what we should start with really quickly is to give people, or to tell them, like, okay, when we say we journey, right? So basically this started with Dana and I, you know, just this one random week we decided to start, and I kid you not, I don't think we've missed 1 week, or maybe 1 week in 4 years. Every single week her and I have sat down and done this journey. But
yeah.
what does that
Sometimes twice
mean?
a week. Sometimes twice a
Sometimes
week
twice a
even. Yeah.
week.
Mhm.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe, I don't know, do you want to speak just for a second too, like on what is shamanic journey? Like when we sit down and we say we journey, like people look at
Yeah.
us like you're kind of crazy.
Yeah.
What is that?
What does
You
that
know, we're
mean?
not we're not
Yeah.
tripping on mushrooms, guys.
No. No, we're not. Really what it means is we're sitting and we're creating a sacred space to work together. So we start by opening the journey. We call in the protection of our guides, our angels. We state the intent of what we want to get out of the journey. In this journey, I would like to understand more about the father wound and divine masculine healing. We're stating intent much clearer than that. And then we're open to circle. And what that is we're just simply receiving information in a shamanic capacity. So we're both open, we're both communicating with spirit, and we just share what's coming through. So
Mhm.
in traditional shamanic journeying, any visions that we're seeing, anything that we're hearing, any intuitive information that we're getting, anything that, and usually within 30 seconds or so, information coming through. Sometimes even before we open the circle, information's
Mhm.
coming through, and we'll just simply share what we get with one another. I may start speaking. Then when I'm done, Jacqueline will start speaking, and usually she's got a similar vision to what I have. She's got the same thing going on. And what this allows us to do is to see what we're getting in a more multi-dimensional 3D sort of side of it. I receive information for her. She receives information for me. We hold space for each other while we're receiving our own information. And this could be past life stuff that comes through, multi-dimensional awareness. It could be um, deceased loved ones with messages that come through. It could be um, galactic guides giving us healing. It could be our own spirit guides. And in doing this too, we have very physical experiences too. You know, we feel sensations in our body. We've experienced hot and cold and, you know, being touched, and all sorts of things
Mhm.
have happened. Yeah, and then we hold this space, we'll ask questions, spirit will give us answers, and then we close the circle. and then we usually do a recap. We do a recap. And then I think the coolest part about what we do too is that we don't just receive this information and then go like this and go on with our lives. We will say, oh, the dream I had the night after the journey, or this experience that happened, this synchronicity, this sign that I got, this real thing that happened in my life, you know. And what's so cool about it is we see such amazing synchronicities between each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did I miss?
Yeah, so no, that's pretty much the gist of what we do. So also really quick for anybody who's watching this, and if you're interested, we will do more on this later, but yesterday I posted a reel on my Instagram, and just bring some music off. I posted a reel with my opening sacred prayer. So if anybody is interested, like when we say when we say sacred prayer, what does that mean? You can go to my Instagram and you can watch the reel and you can hear I literally am speaking it, and that is the same opening prayer I use every time. But like Jenny said, you know, anytime we journey, we usually now have an intention. So I will add, like for the reel, I just made a quick general intention, but we always have a really specific one. And I really want to do a closing one as well, and then we'll put it on Ancient Keys for anybody who's interested.
I will do that because I do the closings. Yeah, Jacqueline always opens, I always close. So we're holding that space, that sort of like whole space together.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, I don't know, I mean, yeah, pretty much, you know, we just open the circle and we keep that trust, we keep that surrender, and we just allow spirit to share with us whatever they need to share with us in that moment. And something I do find very interesting is like sometimes, I know this just happened recently and I don't remember what it is, but sometimes we will set an intention and we will journey, and we'll both at the end, we'll both be like, that is not what I expected. So it's interesting in that way. But again, like we just have to trust that information, and that whatever we intended, that's what we needed at that time, you know.
And even if it seemed cryptic in the moment, it does unfold. It does become understandable as you keep chasing those breadcrumbs of healing and spirit information, and yeah. I think something too that we do, even though we're doing this weekly and we're setting these intentions, and I think we should talk a little bit in a moment about how our journey is overarching between the divine feminine and masculine, and kind of talk about what that means a little bit. But even though we're setting these intentions, something that we can both do that I think is so important in not only doing spiritual work, but in finding that right person to work with, is we are both unafraid to go anywhere the spirit needs to bring us. You know, there's nothing that we can't hear or understand or face. We understand how to transmute energy that isn't of the highest love and light, and still hold the space for that at the same time. But we also know, as much as we can plan, we know that we have to leave ourselves open to what spirit's actually saying. Like we can't ever put those blinders on, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and like you said, you know, just trusting like whatever comes through, it comes through for a reason. And even if we don't understand it in the moment, which there's definitely a lot of times we're like, I don't know what this means, but okay. And then
I
like you
know it resonates, but I don't know what it means, you know, and it's like,
yeah. And then like you said, like it's so for us, it's like it's not just about the journey. Like, yeah, maybe that's the main event, but the next day, the next week, the next month, like we're not just stopping with the journey. Like we're doing deep work to integrate and to say like, okay, that journey happened. We record the journeys. So we will go back and we will listen to it. We'll do a recap and we'll say, okay, this is the symbolism that came through. And what does that mean? And how can I take that advice and integrate it? And Now, I say this also, and I just want all of you to know, like, neither of us are perfect here. We do our best to integrate, and sometimes it just blows up in our face, and we're like, "Fuck, let's try that again."
Well, and sometimes we
So,
realize that healing isn't a straight line or like an upward hill. It's like you go,
100%. Mhm.
like you're always getting above where you were, but some
Mhm.
weeks it's too much. And we're just like, wait a minute, like we really, and I think
Mhm.
really with some of the trauma that we went through, and especially I think really for us to be honest and open and direct here, we're talking about like deep sexual trauma that we're working through,
Mhm.
and that is not easily, some days it's easier than others
Mhm.
to talk
To
about
handle.
it, Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And this is, yeah, it's, it's not just like a simple thing. It's a very, it's complex PTSD, and it's,
Mm-hmm.
it's really
Yeah.
breaking down things. And something that I really love, about working together is that, and I think even when I met you, like I felt safe with you, but I feel like over time also, like I've just allowed myself to like just let go and open up and
Mm-hmm.
trust you, and then also trust spirit, and really be able to be vulnerable, and
Yeah.
again, like you said, like whatever comes through, allow it to come through.
Yeah.
And when I say this, by the way, too, like I mean not only the messages, and sometimes I'll give a really quick example. Like there was this journey we did maybe a month or two ago, where we journeyed into the body for like water healing, I think. And I went, Spirit literally took me into my lower left hip. And I'm not going to explain the whole journey because it is up on YouTube and you guys can listen to it. But I'm not kidding. Like they literally said, we are in your lower left hip. And I fell down into this cave, and there was like this dead man in the water, and it literally freaked me out. And I was actually scared to go further into the cave, into my hip. But I just breathed, and I did, and I went through. And then I got so much information and healed so many different things. And even though it was kind of scary, and I was a little bit like, I don't really want to do this, but I was like, I know I have to, and I know that I'm in a safe space and I can continue forward.
Yeah.
So, in that respect, and then another thing is like something I love about working with you specifically is that neither of us are closed minded when it comes to encountering different entities. Like when we first started, or when I first started, it was mostly focused on channeling deceased loved ones, and loved ones of others. But then over time, like I encountered my first galactic being, and creatures of the earth and inner earth, and traveling, and we could do a whole other reel on that, which we should.
We should.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that is something I will have to say. I really love working with you because you are very, you're very open. Like whoever comes, come in peace, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, ditto, like absolutely, same here. And I think too it's that sort of like not only feeling safe like you mentioned, but knowing that I am in just like a judgment-free zone.
Mm-hmm.
There's that there's nothing that I can't say. I'm not even just talking about intuitively, I'm talking about as a person. Like there's no
Mm-hmm.
experience or and I know that because we can create that space with each other, we can also are able to do that for our clients too, to really like
Mm-hmm.
transfer that same sense of like there's nothing that's off the table here. There's nowhere we can't go. It just creates this sort of like complete safe community within working, because when it's you
Mm-hmm.
and me working together, it's you, me, and spirit. So there's that real community there. But then when we're bringing the person we're reading into it, they're still just part of that community, that we created,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, and I think that um, yeah, it's been such an interesting ride. I think, what did we start with? We started with tackling the divine masculine, right? And really
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
asking to heal our relationship with the masculine energy, with specifically males in our life, because that was, I think, at the root of the trauma, or that's how we saw the root of the trauma at the time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we started with that one, and that, I mean, that lasted, I think, 3 years almost. You know, that sounds like a
Yeah.
long time to heal something, but it's we really went deep with it, you know, and we had to learn a lot
Mm-hmm.
of lessons,
Yeah.
and yeah, and and like you said, it was for us, it was the root of our trauma, so it was, you know, it was the deepest.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so we did the masculine, and now we're diving. We did the feminine, I think, like a little bit in the beginning too, and then
Mm-hmm.
we realized like, oh, the masculine is the deeper one. So we did the masculine, and recently we've come back into the feminine and doing womb healing and
Mm-hmm.
diving deeper in that, and starting in that to work a lot with Mary Magdalene, which has been very interesting and beautiful.
Yeah.
Um, but we realized somewhere along the line, like this um, concept of the divine masculine and the feminine and the union of the both and the balance of the both, and how can we work with that, like, yeah, and just and balance that in ourselves and heal that in ourselves. And yeah, it's been a beautiful journey. It's definitely not over yet.
No, no, absolutely not. Yeah, it's yeah, I feel so blessed to be able to be on this journey with you. I mean, I
Same.
literally cannot imagine where I would be without it. Like yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the thing about doing this work is it's not even just in the moments that we're journeying, in the moments where we're reflecting among the two of us. It's about how does it transfer into, so we're looking at the divine masculine. So how did it transfer into our partners, into our
Mm-hmm.
relationships with our husbands, with our fathers, with our brothers, with, male coworkers, with male friends. I mean, there was no
Mm-hmm.
sort of end to it. And really, understanding behavioral patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not perfect. We're still working through them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we can bring an awareness to them. We can pause and take a deep breath and trust and just surrender in a way that I wasn't doing 4 or 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I think, I know we wanted to speak about this too, is like, you know, like we said in the beginning, Dana and I literally have committed fully to this journey, and we have done this every single week for 4 years, sometimes twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
And something that, like you said, like I also, like, I would not be where I am without you. And I think that speaks volumes in terms of like having someone to go on this journey with you. And this is what we um, do with our clients as well. But like for us, okay, we're doing these journeys, right? And we're getting this information. And sometimes, you know, well, oftentimes in the journey, it's like I'll give her a reading or she'll give me a reading. And or like the journey is just for both of us, you know, and all the information that's coming through is for both of us. But it's this interesting thing that we noticed happening where there's this synchronicity, and we became a mirror for each other. And
Yeah.
like what I'm going through, she'll be going through, or she'll be going through something and I'm going through the opposite of that, in order for us to see the two different perspectives.
Yeah.
And something that I think is really beautiful is like we're like, unlike a therapist who's like sitting there and like you're telling the therapist everything, it's like we're on the same level, you know,
Yeah.
and we're experiencing it together. And this is something we really do with our clients, is like we allow them to, like, during the journeys, if you're intuitive and you want to say something, or you feel something, or you connect, or you just want to jump in and say, like we had a client, I won't say her name, we had this beautiful client, and we journeyed into this cave in this forest. And as I was giving her this message, she's like, oh my, like she literally started crying, and she was like,
Yeah.
I have been
Yeah.
there before. I
Mhm.
have been to this cave in my meditations.
Yeah.
And she was just so blown away that we were able to pick up on that. But then she, came into the journey with us and was able
Mhm.
to like speak through it. And I think that's something really beautiful, is like we create, like you said, this non-judgmental space for clients where we're not acting as a therapist, but we're allowing it to be a collaborative effort. And I think that's where a lot of
Yeah.
the deep, deep, deep healing and
Yeah.
surrender can
Well,
happen.
and we'll also, by allowing them to hold that space and have their own intuition come into it and have their own validated experiences with their intuition, is that they start to then understand that they are communicating with spirit in a way that they didn't understand. So they can
Mm-hmm.
continue that spirit-driven healing in any capacity that they choose. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's at the crust of it, for someone to be able to say, oh, this isn't all of this information I'm getting and I'm connecting with isn't happening in a vacuum. It's happening because I can also see this information, like it's not like
Mm-hmm.
that we're needed to do it. Maybe we are because they don't have the capacity or they're not at that space, but
Mm-hmm.
they can also start their own healing journey to do what we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that as we work with people, that's where we want to move forward more too. It's really taking people on this whole journey,
Mm-hmm.
to really see that these aren't just instant isolated clusters of clarity. They're just like how you can really
Mm-hmm.
progress, forward. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And Dana and I have talked, and like, so after years of doing this, we we started to realize like how much we've grown, how much we've healed. And it just became very clear to us, like, if this helped us so much, and we were in the position in the beginning when we started where we couldn't find the right outlet to heal, and we
Mm-hmm.
have done transformative healing. I mean, I think we both really drastically transformed. We said we need to be doing this for other people, and that birthed like our one-on-one sessions. So we do these one-on-one sessions to basically just sit down, journey, ask spirit, see what comes through, and then help the client to integrate. And and again, Dana and I recently have talked about like taking that one step further and building out this like longer journey, like 6 month or year journey, to
Mm-hmm.
really help people transform, because it took us years. And now that we know what we're doing and we know how it works, we
Mm-hmm.
can do this for other people in a really impactful way. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It, it
And that's
it absolutely
that's our
is.
mission.
That is our mission. I think it's a good one. It's really our life's work, I think is really it. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think we don't even know where it's gonna wind up yet. We can set those
Yeah.
intentions, but I know Spirit's gonna take us somewhere pretty incredible.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and yeah, like you said, it's just the beginning,
Mhm.
and yeah, we have big plans, and just starting to do more lives and show our faces and really start. We have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Dana and I could sit here for hours and talk.
Absolutely. But we also have
So,
some other stuff we do too. We do the monthly shamanic journey meetup.
mhm,
We do that every month. It's on Meetup. It's free of charge. It's accessible for everyone, and we have different topics for the month.
mhm,
That's pretty cool. It's always fascinating to see what comes out of that. And
mhm,
to get together with a group of sometimes strangers and just
mhm,
really be on the same page and have the same incredible experience together. And we've
mhm,
also we started doing ceremonies too. Like we did recently did our
Mm-hmm.
Mary Magdalene Rose activation ceremony, which was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we put all of these, so anytime Dana and I journey on our own, or we do the group shamanic journey, which is free, by the way. You can go to our bio, whether it's Ancient Keys or our personal bios, and you can follow us on Meetup. Like she said, it's every second Saturday. Our next one is going to be water healing in the body. And so we record all of these and we put them up on YouTube because we also, and our client sessions, because we really want people to understand how we work. So, if you guys are interested, you can go to YouTube and listen, to one of our journeys and see what we talk about when we say shamanic journey.
Yeah. I think that that's another mission too, to really, I think we use the word shamanic journey for it, but to really get people to understand this unique journey, sort of spirit driven one-on-one communication you can have with them. Like that for me is a personal mission in my life, to get people to understand what that is and be able to experience it, because I think it's a pretty, sometimes it almost feels like it's such a secret thing still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually, you're making me think too. We should definitely do maybe a live on shamanism and like what is shamanism, and because I think people
Mm-hmm.
have this concept, especially for me being here in Peru and doing medicine, like there's a shaman who does the medicine. But when we say shamanic journeying, it's something, it's very similar, but it's a little different, and to clarify that for people. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
to be
that's
continued.
important. I think for a long time I thought a shaman was a certain thing, and I even look back at the first shaman I worked with. He was, he's a male, and then I just had he was so typical in every way. It was wonderful, but
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's what a shaman was. I didn't understand that it's really all of us are in some capacity, but
Right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about for now?
I don't think so. Other than to say just to thank you for being part of this journey with me, and for
Thank
everyone
you
that's been
too.
listening.
Yeah, yeah, thank you too. I'm so blessed to be on this journey with you, and like we said earlier, we would not be where we are today without each other. And we've made it our mission, to do this for others and to really help them. So
Mm-hmm.
we are here for all of you to help you on your journeys with so much love and safe spaces. And yeah, so
Yeah.
if anyone has any questions, you can always send us a message and connect with us, and yeah, and see how we can help you on your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. If anyone has any questions or anything, feel free to drop them in there. But if not, thanks for listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dana and I will be doing another live on Friday, this Friday coming up, and we will be diving deeper into like how we work with our clients. We call our work spirit driven healing. So we will be talking about exactly what that is, how we work,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more about what shamanism is. So if you're interested in that, just stay tuned for Friday. And yeah,
Friday at noon.
Friday at noon, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye.